Now, as we gaze over the picture of this elegant feminine warrior, we start to see a very simple principle. And that is that every movement we make is actually many movements bound and linked together purposefully. Now, understanding this principle then allows us to consider the possibility of making a single movement that is so large that it will encompass our entire life, allowing us to put every action we form into a purposeful and meaningful whole. And that brings us to the question of how to create the action that will govern all other actions within our life. And there are 3 steps. First, select your end. Second, select your beginning. And finally, select your path. So let's begin with selecting your end, because for the warrior, this is always where we begin, at the end. So in the creation of a unique world, we have ourselves to begin with, our soul, and we exist in the spiritual world. Now, choosing the path of the warrior requires us to entrust our body to figure out how to express us in action form. These are not us, we are not our actions, but our actions allow us to express who we are as a spiritual being. Now, when the body forms a grand physical movement, the body wants to do something that's never been done before, like climbing a mountain that no one has ever been to in the past. Because why do something that's been done before? It doesn't make sense to the warrior. It must be unique. It must be distinctive. It must be something that sets us apart. So this grand physical movement, this amazing end, will be something that's never been achieved in this world. And there are 2 approaches. The first is the masculine approach, where we use our actions to push. As men, we push on the world through our actions. However, the women do it differently. The feminine warrior uses her actions to pull the world to her. And both are needed, which is why we have masculine warriors and feminine warriors. So as we consider that end, that grand physical movement, the glorious outcome that we intend that has never been achieved before, the next step is selecting your beginning. And here's where many warriors step off the path. They consider that, well, when I get enough money, or when I get enough training, or when I get in the right relationship, then I'll begin. But for a warrior, there's really only one beginning, and that is wherever you happen to be standing right now. And the great thing about this beginning is that it is always your beginning. Right now, you tend to be standing somewhere. And each step you take makes you standing in a new place, and that is now the new beginning. So once we know the end, and we can see the beginning that's under our feet, we know how to take the next step towards that end. And here's where the mind and the body in the inner world, the mind, heart, body, start working together. The body, if we choose the path of the warrior, leads. Through actions, leads the mind and the heart. But the mind and the heart help the body feel the world around them, see what's happening through the pictures in the mind. It becomes very vital to identify the reality of the beginning that we're standing on right now. And the mind and the heart are very helpful in that regard. But the body must lead when we choose to embody the warrior nature. So keeping in mind the ultimate glorious end, and then the beginning, wherever we're standing right now, focusing on that position, and then taking one step toward the end. And if you do that, over the course of a lifetime, you move one step at a time, from beginning to beginning to beginning, until you finally achieve the end. And that brings us to the final step, and that is selecting your path. Now, we can always get from the beginning to the end if we take one step at a time, if we perform those actions, link them together into a sequence to produce this grand physical movement. But there's something else that warriors are always about: the path. Pushing and pulling on the world around us through our actions has to be done in a way, the way of the warrior. And sometimes we think there's only one way: the way of honor, the way of strength, the way of stealth, the way of compassion. These are all a possible way that we can follow. However, as a warrior, as a creative being, we must form our own way, one that is particular just to us. We can't follow another warrior's way. That wouldn't be our way. And if you think about it, the only way to get to your end from your beginning is following your path. And you must keep to that path, not a set sequence of steps. That's not a true path of the warrior. It's a way of honor, a way of strength, a way of compassion, a way of intensity. The way that you move defines the warrior nature. It's what infuses the action. The distinctive way that the action is performed, that's the path. And as long as we stay true to that path, that unique path that defines us, the world gets it. They get what we're about. And that makes it purposeful in our display. We have a unique way, moving from our unique beginning right now, and each step we take is a unique expression towards that glorious end, that grand physical movement. So, create a grand physical movement if you happen to desire to live in your own unique world.